150, 160. He's gone.
What's up, guys? Today we're in the garage embarking on first step in building a bunch of custom furniture for the house, and the project for today is the shoe rack. And so the basic dimensions are going to be, it's going to be 3 feet tall, 5 feet wide, and we're going to basically put in these metal shelves, and then into them will go wood. So usually when I do this, I just draw up the project, come up with a pretty solid cut list, and at that point what we're going to do is we're going to build the 3 shelves first, then we're going to build the metal supports, then we're going to weld it all together. I got a fresh blade Mr. Slicey outside, and my buddy Josh is here, and he's going to be helping out and throwing out some bad puns. So say hi to YouTube, Josh.
Hello, YouTube.
Alright, so that's 60 inches. I don't trust this thing to make angle cuts. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to cut it, and then we're going to grind it down to get the inside angle, or we can use the bandsaw.
Moving that back, these moves all on my face. Focus, stay up on my waist.
You can let go of that now. I don't think it's going anywhere. Grab that. That is exactly 60 inches. So the way this is going to work is that this, we'll have to cut the inside angle like that, and then on the other one as well.
Adjust that later.
What's up?
And then grind it in.
I'm going to see. We have the bandsaw. We use the bandsaw. Because really, you can just grind a little bit right here. The biggest piece to remove is this piece right here.
Yeah.
Or we can use the flap disc. The other thing I love is this thing. I don't know how we don't have those in the garage.
I use silver Sharpies, but this looks like it's easy.
No, it's like a really fine oil pen or whatever it's called. Alright, cool. So,
attempt number 1.
better be right. Make sure it's flush up against this back plate. See, this is why I invited you. You have way more patience for this kind of stuff than I do.
Dude, like this thing just like wobbles itself around.
Yeah.
And the legs aren't even. See, if it was a tripod.
If I open the gas tank. Wondering why I was looking like shit. Because I set it and then I closed it.
You could be my luck. Even if the sky is falling down, I know that we'll be safe and sound. I can lift you up. I can show you what you wanna see and take you where you wanna be. You could be my luck. Even if the sky is falling down, I know that we'll be safe and sound.
Now we got these frames welded. We got to trim down some of this bar stock and get it in here as a reinforcement brace. Like that. I'm gonna tack it in here and then flip it over and weld it from the back side.
To the swear that she can get it. Say if you a bad bitch, put your hands up high. Hands up high. Hands up high. Tell them dim the lights down right now. Go.
I recognize your fragrance, hold up, you ain't never gotta say shit, and I know you taste this a little bit, high maintenance, everybody else basic, you live life on an everyday basis with poetic justice, poetic justice. If I told you that a flower bloomed in a dark room, would you trust it? I mean, I write poems in these songs, dedicated to you and you're in the mood for empathy, it's blood in my pen. Better yet with your friends and them. She wanna go and party. Nigga don't approach her with that Atari. Nigga that ain't good game, homie, sorry. They say conversation, rule a nation. I can tell, but I could never right my wrongs. Lest I write it down for real. P.S. 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 You can get it, you can get it, you can get it, you can get it. And I know you, know you, know you, know you, know you, know you wrong. Poetic justice, put it in the song.
Every second, every minute, man, I swear that she can get it.
You can get it, you can get it, you can get it. And I know you, know you, know you, know you, know you, what you want. Poetic justice, put it in the song. Alright.
Every second, every minute.
Now that we got the frame all welded up, next step is to grind down and weld on some end caps just to make the project look a little more professional. Then we can wipe it down with acetone and wipe it down with penetrol, and she'll be ready for wood.
You can get it.
Return to the Mac. Get up what it is, what it does, what it is, what it isn't. Looking for a better way to get up out of bed instead of getting on the internet and checking a new hit. Get up. First shot, come strut walking. A little bit of humble, a little bit of cautious. Somewhere between like Rocky and Cosby's for the game. No, y'all can't copy yet. Glad moonwalking. This here is our party. My posse's been on Broadway, and we did it all way here. Now they can't tell me nothing. But give it to me.
And there's our finished end caps, and you can see it just makes the whole project look a lot nicer. Wipe the whole thing down with denatured alcohol. Now comes the magical part. This stuff, which I'm sure is all sorts of toxic and poisonous. Fuck all else.
Only in the state of California.
No, I'm pretty sure this stuff's poisonous here too.
You think so?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Just wipe everything down with the penetrol.
Let's make this fleeting moment last forever. So tell me what you're waiting for. I'm gonna keep it frozen here forever. There's no regretting anymore. It's worth the wait, even so far away. I'm making the night mine until the day I die. No light to break when you're hanging by faith. You know what it feels like when you're dancing like alone.
So, after sitting for about 2.5 weeks, here is the frame in my bedroom. As you can see, I can touch it, doesn't leave any residue on my hands. I'm really happy with how the metal work turned out. There don't seem to be any rust spots, anything like that for me, so I'm really happy the way this looks. The reason this has been sitting here for about 2 weeks now is that I have been unable to decide on what kind of wood I wanted to use to build these shelves or how I would go about that. And the primary problem with that is that hardwood, like new hardwood planks, don't come in standard sizes, and they are extremely expensive. I mean, I would have spent almost double what I spent on all this metal just to buy that wood, which to me seemed kind of ridiculous. So I came up with a different idea, and I'm going to show you guys that here in a minute. But basically, I have a whole bunch of 4-inch planks, and what we're going to do is we're going to do it kind of in a staggered pattern. So instead of running a bunch of little planks like this, we're going to run like a 3-foot piece, and then a 2-foot piece, and then a 3-foot piece, and they're all going to be offsets. It's going to look kind of the way longitudinally laid hardwood floors look. And there's a few techniques and stuff in the garage I'm going to show you in a minute. And hopefully it's going to allow us to join everything together and basically cut out in the end 3 of these 5-foot long boards. And this is 12 inches on the outside, so take off 1/8 of an inch. So that's what? 2/8 is 1/4. So this internal distance should be 11 3/4, and obviously I'll remeasure that before we go downstairs. But basically we just got to make these boards and pop them in, and once that happens, this project is done, and hopefully it looks really cool. So this is my solution. These are old sections of fence made with cedar, and as you can see, there's quite a bit of rot on the end of these. But this kind of texture, this look, I think really is more my style. I really like it, and it is the pieces that I want to make, you know, my furniture out of. And so you can't really fake this weathered look. It's really kind of unique. And so a buddy of mine, we went on Craigslist and we found a guy that had torn out his fence, and we picked up all of his fence, and he took some of it and I took these pieces. But so that we don't have to deal with all these nails, and because I don't need that much, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run the circ saw inside of here, and use just these inside pieces. And then what we're going to do is, once the pieces are all cut and laid out, we're actually going to join them using a biscuit joiner here on the insides. You know, glue them all together. That glue is going to cure, and then that's going to be our shelves. We can just drop them in when we're done. So cut one of them down. Now it's time to do the other one. And the easiest way to do this is just to kind of lay it down, sort of square it up, and then just run the circ saw right along this edge.
Someone up there will find me. Till then I walk alone.
And these pieces here at the bottom, at the top, I kept a few of them in the garage from the first set to just use them as demo boards so we can test sanders and biscuit joiners and stuff like that on them. So we're back up here, and here's kind of what it's going to look like. These boards, I mean, they sit perfectly flush. They're exactly the right size. And this opening here is about 11 3/4, and these are about 3 7/8. So we're going to end up having to trim one of them. But basically the idea is that there'll be like a long piece, a short piece, and a long piece, and it'll just kind of look like it's flowing. And what we're going to do is we're actually use the biscuit joiner to join these pieces side by side. Okay, now that I have my measurements out, it's kind of time to test a new toy. And first new toy that we're going to test, now this is what is called a biscuit joiner, and these things right here are what are called hardwood biscuits. These are number 0 hardwood biscuits. And the idea here is that that thing has a blade that slips out and cuts a slit in a piece of wood. You soak this biscuit and the slit with wood glue, like Type Bond 3 or Type Bond 2, and you slip this in, and what happens is this is a hardwood chip, and it'll take that glue and the water in the glue and it'll swell, and basically when it swells and then it swells glued, you will end up with a really good connection, and it'll be basically like a solid piece of wood. And so I have these two pieces right here, which are scraps off the scrap cut end, and what we're going to do is we're going to attempt to biscuit join them together. So that's pretty much it, and so let's get this unboxed and see what all is in here. Now this thing is about 60 bucks, and we're going to be somewhat careful with everything because I may end up returning it because this isn't really something that I'm going to need long term. So as you can see, you basically line it up and then boom, blade comes out, and it just makes a little incision, and that's all there really is to this tool. So, and plug it in, and where's the switch? There we go. So it seems to work. So let's see what happens when we So there we go. It makes a little slit in the 2x4, and that little wood chip, I mean, it just sits in there perfectly. So my only real concern here was is the thickness of this versus the thickness of that and getting it pretty much dead nuts even. So let's see what this looks like when we try it on something this thin. So that's what I was kind of worried about. It's really high up there, but I think it'll work. So let's go ahead and mark off a couple of sections here. Aha, as always, metal comes to the rescue. This is probably 1/8 of an inch plate, and that puts us basically dead nuts center. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the other relief here, and then we'll flip that piece of wood over and cut some more reliefs in that. So you know what, maybe I will be keeping this tool, because check this out. So these are 2 pieces of wood. I'm not applying any pressure to them. You can barely see the biscuit, but if I start compressing it, because normally when you do is when you glue it, you will take, a clamp like this one, and then you will make sure that there's a significant amount of weight pushing down on top of it. I got that steel bar there as an example. And when this hardens, you're going to end up with a really flush connection. Well, it's been half an hour, which is what it says this wood glue needs. So let's see what our kind of final product here looks like. God, that's a big piece of metal. I mean, you can definitely flex it, but thankfully it won't be flexing. But as far as just kind of pulling it apart, ooh, it's still wet. All right, I think it works pretty well, and I think that's what we're gonna do. So following our model, what I've done here is 2 foot, 2 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 3 foot, 3 foot, makes about 5 feet together. I squared it up on this edge. This is the back side, so this would be the underside of the shelf. What we're going to do is we're going to join it here, 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 and here. Clamp this all together, and this is going to be our first shelf, basically. And it should fit in there quite nicely. Now the trick is to actually do this and make it look good. So I guess I'm going to start cutting these pilot slots with the biscuit slots with the biscuit joiner, and then we just have to put it together and clamp it down the best we can. So here we go. We got all these boards marked up, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to.
And if you're losing your hide and smoke again, all the good fast the weed, get your motherfucking man. And if you're losing your hide and smoke again,
Sometime to try to steal your mind's elation. And little girls from Sweden dream of silver screen quotation. And if you want these kind of dreams, it's kind of fornication. It's the edge of the world in all of Western civilization. The sun may rise in the east, at least it's settled in a final location. It's understood that Hollywood tells Californication. Hey, outside the mirror, will it break the spell of aging? Celebrity skin, is this your Tinder? Is that what you're waging? Firstborn unicorn, hardcore, softcore, dream of Californication, dream of Californication, dream of Californication, dream of
This is the reason why I hate using glue. I hate things that require glue. To me, it's one of those processes that's just not, it's never clean, it's never done quite right? It's always kind of half-assed because it's glue. The other thing is, like, real woodworking guys, the guys that you know, treat wood like I treat metal, they have approximately 100 billion clamps. In fact, you can watch some of the YouTube channels of some of those guys, and I swear to you, they have more clamps, just clamps, in their garage than I think I have sockets or tools even. I mean, they have rooms of this stuff, and the reason is because they fucking glue everything together. And when you glue everything together, you constantly are using clamps. That's basically your only tool to hold things together. And so the other thing is, I only really have enough clamps to do basically one shelf at a time. And so this wood glue needs something in the range of like 45 minutes to an hour to set up properly. So we're gonna have to do this 3 times. Well, it's been an hour since we put all this nonsense together, so I'm going to carefully remove all this stuff and take a look at what's going on with our shelf. And then I have a few ideas about how we can kind of cheat the process a little bit here. If I'm not really happy with the adhesion issues, I can pull a few tricks and fix that. Let's see, set that aside. Pop, pop. I'm gonna go ahead and remove our cover board. So here's our shelf, and as you can see, there's some gaps in it, but I'm being very, very gentle with this because I don't actually know how stable it is. So what we're going to do is, to help kind of reinforce this, we're going to staple this underside, kind of get some of these gaps as close as we can. And you know, maybe I should have done this straight from the beginning. I don't really know. I'm not a woodworker, and I hate this. Now that right there is that's a lot sturdier. Okay, well, here's our first shelf in, and this is going to be the bottom shelf eventually, because it's not quite as nice as hopefully the next ones will be. But as you can see, it fits in really nicely. The edges, it's basically the perfect thickness. There's a little bit of bowing in the middle, which is partially wood warpage, partially clamping, partially, you know, just shit. But hopefully with the weight of shoes on it over the years, it'll even out. It's got a little bit of space in here, about 1/8 of an inch, whereas I cut these to be really, really flush. I actually went downstairs several times and trimmed them until they fit in there really flushly. So now we just have to go back and make 2 more of these and migrate this guy down here to the bottom shelf. Well, I got 2 more shelves to make, so let's talk about some lessons learned here. Number 1, woodworking is just not for me. I don't have the tools, I don't have the patience, and most importantly, wood is kind of a shitty medium. You can't weld it, you gotta glue it, fucking makes a mess everywhere. I'm just not really feeling it. So next one I'm going to make, I'm going to skip the biscuits, I'm going to skip the wood glue, I'm going to skip all that garbage, and just go straight for the throat, which in this case, It's called a staple gun. Just use the staples to staple this all together so that all my seams and all my gaps are nice and flush. So the first shelf you guys saw in there, it looked really good. I'm really happy the way that turned out. So while I have to admit the use of biscuits does add some rigidity to the product, using a large number of staples like this, since it is sitting in a frame like this and all the weight is pushing down, the staples are going to hold everything together perfectly. And so you can see this finish looks a lot better. And now all I really have to do is, this end's already square. I'm going to cut down this guy to exactly 59 and 3/4 inches and then pop it in, and then we'll just do the third shelf. Much faster, much easier. So the whole idea behind this shoe rack was transform this into this, which much better. And just so it looks like, so 5 foot wide, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, look at about 6, 7 pairs of shoes, depending. Obviously more if you can double them up, but I think the final product turned out phenomenal. I'm really happy with the way it looks. If I bring you guys in a little closer here, you can see that the metal is pretty much flush with this wood. This is a really nice reclaimed look. The same thing I'm going to go with when I redo the rest of the closet. I know it looks kind of goofy with this kind of builder grade closet in here with this piece in here, but eventually there will be a wall piece here and here, and I'm going to replace all of this with some custom fab stuff. And keeps everything off the floor, helps keep the carpet a little cleaner. As you can see, full size, full height men's boots fit. I wear a size 12 shoe, so Carly's about 12 inches, so they fit really, really nicely. I stood it off the wall just a little bit to give it a little bit of breathing room on the back side. But like I said, all in all, I am super thrilled with how this project came out. If I take a standard t-shirt, it's draping on there a little bit. Like I said, I didn't actually plan on keeping this here long term. I don't hang anything there, but I think this looks really good. I'm really happy with this project, and thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. Make sure you go on Instagram, MaksWerks. You could have seen pictures of this being built probably like a month and a half before this video comes out. That's all I got for you guys. Peace.